The Center Line with Dave is free of all gluten, peanuts, whey, jet fuel, laundry detergent, and turnip greens may cause grins, chuckles, and hoots. Do not listen if you suffer from ill tempers, lack of humor, can't take a joke, or easily get the poochy lip. Keep away from children and pets, except hamsters and chipmunks.
Dave says, hey, come along for the ride.
Hey, all you guys and guyettes, you are about to jump into a barrel of grins with Dave. Adult-oriented comedy stories and tall tales. Politics, not so much, maybe just a little, but not much. Enjoy your ride. Now here's Dave.
Good Saturday, everybody. Glad you've joined us here on the Center Line with Dave today. Today I'm going to move the program in a bizarre and a drastically different direction. And that is, I want to talk a little ancient history. Now, I'm no scholar. I'm just the average guy that's, lived a pretty good life, had my ups and downs just like everybody has. And it's been a good life. And I like to think that I've kept my faith, the faith that I was taught, learned over the years, the faith that I've experienced, the hand of God from time to time in my life. And I'm not going to be preaching here. This isn't going to be a preaching session because I'm not a preacher, and I'm not going to try to tell you how to live or not to live or any of that. But I just want to touch on some of the interesting things in nature, physical things, as well as some spiritual things that point to the direction of a higher being and who that might be. So I'm not very articulate. I just kind of say it and speak it as it comes. So you're not going to be getting a lecture from a learned and knowledgeable astrophysicist or religious professor or what have you. So, but I hope you will listen and that you'll hang in there with me. And that's going to be the brunt of the program today. And we'll get on with it right after this quick message.
Direct from the high Himalayas comes Holyman Hank's Dream a Tune, derived from Tibetan crabgrass root and Yeti chickweed. Dream a Tune will have you tripping through your favorite cartoon fast. Just one packet of Dream a Tune in your favorite hot beverage. 30 minutes before Betty Bye time and drift off to the visions of Popeye kicking Bluto's ass. How about Elmer Fudd shooting himself in the foot? And who can have a good night's slumber without Wile E. Coyote being smashed like a bug by an anvil or blown to smithereens by a stick of the Roadrunner's Acme Dynamite? Dream a Tune is shipped direct from Holyman Hank's Enclave, high in the Himalayas. Only $49.99 order today.
Allow 4 to 6 months for delivery, green stamps, and MasterCard accepted.
I'd like to dedicate the time of the program today to share some insights with you over some things that I have always found very interesting and intriguing. I'm sure many of you as well, once I open this little box up here and we start talking about various things. And it centers around a little bit of faith, a little bit of your belief in God. Where did we come from? How did we get here? How long have we been here? And just what is our long-term past history? I'm talking about, millions of years. Now, what I've just said is probably enough for some of you to think, Dave's gone off his cookie. He's going to get a little nuts and weirdo on us. No, I'm not. This is, I think it's going to be interesting. That's why I'm bringing this up today. And if you don't think it's going to be interesting, well, just tune us out and go on about your day and have a great day. But otherwise, at least hang in there for a few minutes and see what you think about this. And maybe I can hook you into listening to the entire program. But anyway, back in the early 70s, is when I first got interested in ancient history. I mean the real ancient history. I mean the pyramids and such and beyond. And that was when I got the book, and I read the book Chariots of the Gods by Eric von Däniken. I'm sure most of you remember that book, and many of you have probably read it as well. And of course, most everybody has seen the Ancient Aliens programs on TV, which some of them are really, really good, fascinating, and intriguing. But that's when I really got interested in this, and then throughout the years ever since, I've always had kind of a penchant for that kind of thing. And it makes you think, maybe what we've been learning in the way that historians, archaeologists, scientists, geologists, the way that they have presented things to us over the years through our textbooks and our teachings and learning in school and what have you is maybe they've been off the bead just a little bit. Now I'm not going to get into creationist type stuff when it comes to religious matters, like is the earth only 6,000 years old? I mean, who knows? There's not a person on this planet today that can definitively flat slap down, put their money on the table and say, yes, it is only 6,000 years old, or no, it is 4 billion years old. All we have to do is to look at the evidence so far, and in my mind, it points towards billions of years, not thousands of years. But I could be wrong. I could be just as wrong as the guy who says it's absolutely only 6,000 years old. So I want to clear the deck on that deal. I'm not getting into creationism and your religious beliefs regarding that. I'm just looking at the science, looking at the evidence, the physical evidence that we can see with our own eyes and we can touch and feel with our own hands, with the pyramids in Egypt. Who built those? Some people are now saying, and some scientists and historians and archaeologists are starting to come around to a degree with thinking, well, maybe the Egyptians, as we know the Egyptians, as we've learned about the Egyptians from 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, maybe they didn't build the pyramids, or if they did, they certainly didn't build them in the classic traditional way of dragging 100-ton blocks, 400 or 500 miles or even 10 miles or 6 miles through the sand, with armies of men. There's starting to be some head scratching about just how did they do that? Is there a lost technology, something that we do not know about, that they had the grasp of, that allowed them to be able to move those blocks and to carve those blocks with such precision? There's a lot to be said about a past technological civilization here on Earth that before the flood, the Noah's flood, and I guess somewhere between 10 and 20, 30, 50,000 years ago, somewhere in that area. And so you got to say, well, wait a minute, maybe there is something to this flood story. Well, I believe in the flood story. I believe what the Bible says about the flood. I believe that there were forces, physical forces in this world, cosmic forces, that caused dramatic changes in the Earth's geology and atmosphere and weather and so forth, so that could make a flood possible. How long it lasted and just how it materialized and presented itself is still a question up for grabs. But I believe in a flood. So some of these things, like even the Sphinx, they're now thinking that the Sphinx maybe is much, much older than what we previously considered because of the wear on it, erosion, which is the type of erosion you only would see with massive amounts of water, like steady rains or a flood or what have you. So there's a lot there, and even in South America, Bolivia, the ancient city of Tiahuanaco, Pumapunco, which has got some fascinating pictures of blocks carved with a precision that we could barely do today, if at all, with our rock carving and materials and machinery and so forth. A lot of stone blocks around the world that we would be hard-pressed with our massive lifting capacities to be able to lift and to place into position like we find in many ancient sites. So there's a lot of unanswered questions there, and it seems like every time that a new discovery is made, it's a discovery that just is fraught with more and more questions and head-scratching. How did they do this? Well, having said all this, I think that you have to look at some kind of a supernatural or superior power at be. And I guess that's where our belief in God comes in. You know, a lot of folks say that it's heresy and sacrilegious to say that God was an alien. Well, I don't know who God is. I know I believe in God. I have seen God at work in my life. I've seen God at work in other people's life. So there's no doubt about it in my mind that there is a God, that there is a power, that if we allow them to come into our lives, they will come into our lives, and they will guide us, and they will protect us, and they will move us in a certain direction. So that being said, I really don't care if he's an alien from the star cluster or the Pleiades or the constellation of Orion or the backside of Saturn. I don't care. You know, it doesn't matter to me if he looks like a half man and a half snake, or if he's like an old man like we learn and we see in pictures depicted in a big white robe with a little golden crown, sitting on a big throne, sitting on top of a cloud, looking down on us, moving gesturing with his hands and making the world turn and lightning flash and all that. I don't care. I don't care who he is. All I know is the influence that he's had on my life and the influence that he has had on this world. And, you know, and did he being an actual being, did he send people down here to earth from some other place to teach our ancestors back millions of years ago, or thousands of years ago maybe, some of these things, how to build these big dramatic classic colossal structures that we see, like the pyramids and other things around the world, you know. So yeah, I mean, he could have tooted down here in a spaceship 50,000 years ago, and that's fine with me. It doesn't lessen my belief in the Bible, my belief in the writings of the Lord, and that they are the sacred writings, and they are blessed by the Spirit. That doesn't bother me a bit, because it's what is being said, what is being told to us, and what we are taught through our religion, the good parts that make it inconsequential as to exactly who he is and where he came from and what he is. You know, it's our minds are not designed and built to be able to reach that far out. It's like we cannot comprehend the end of the universe. They say the universe is about 93 billion light years wide or deep. 93 billion light years, you can't even comprehend that, you know. But you know that somewhere out there had to be a spark. They talk about the Big Bang. Well, so what? So everything started as one little particle and then all of a sudden exploded into the universe that we know today, and the Earth and the planets and the suns and stars and all that. You know, well, how did that happen? Where did that little spark come from? then they say, oh, well, it's a singularity is what they call it. And now we're getting deep into a lot of astrophysics and so forth that I don't fully understand by any means. But so this all had to have a start somewhere, but it's beyond our comprehension. And that's where your faith comes in. You got to have faith that there's a power out there that's greater than you, that's got all the answers, that knows all the answers, and that someday, one day, we will know those answers. We will be a part of our cosmic destiny. In whatever form you want to believe that it's going to be heaven up above the clouds, like I said, with the golden gates at St. Peter, that's fine. That's great. It could very well be. It could be some kind of a dimensional shift that we go through, some kind of a time warp when we leave this world. We just don't know. Nobody knows. We could come back as a little ghost tooting around in a haunted house somewhere. Who knows? Or we could come back as a darn cow like the Hindus, in reincarnation believe. I mean, nobody knows. It's all just guesswork. But I do know that there is a foundation, and that foundation is that there's a power greater than me and you that is working in our lives and is making things happen to our good and to our detriment from time to time, but it's all part of the plan. It's all part of the plan. And if you've got faith in whatever God you believe in, whether he's Buddhist or Confucius or whatever, Jesus, which I firmly believe that he did come to earth. I firmly believe that he was a savior of all of us, and that's just the way it is. But it's just really fascinating, and you look at some of the physical evidence, and you got to know, no, this didn't happen in 6,000 years. No, they didn't drag that stuff through the sand, corrosive sand and everything that would just grind a rock down to nothing. They didn't do that. How'd they do it? How'd they do it? Something went on in this world, and it appears to me, from what I understand, that it all happened prior to the flood. And of course, in the Bible it says that good Lord looked down on earth and he didn't like what he saw. He didn't like the way people were living and their lasciviousness and whatever. And so he brought the great flood to just kind of clean house, kind of wipe the slate clean and start over. Well, it could be, yeah. And there's some indication that something like that did happen because a lot of these artifacts, whether they're small little artifacts or the big artifacts like the pyramids or some of the big carvings and the big stone block works around the world, were pre-Diluvian, I guess they might say, is before the flood. So who knows? There might have been a technology not like ours. I don't believe there was a technology like what we are living in today. I would think if there was such as that, with all the excavations, the archaeological work, and so forth that's gone on in this world over the last 500 years or so, that we would have found something, that there would have been some real remnant or something like a transistor radio or a copper cable in the ground or something, or what was some kind of a motorized vehicle or something, or some kind of a massive technological building. But anyway, it was a different kind of technology, whatever it was, but it was there. It's got to be. It can't just be what we were all brought up to believe it is. And things, I think, are starting to shift a little bit. But it's just been a fascinating subject for me, and it gives you time to sit and pause and think about, where did we come from, and who is God, and what is God? And the big thing is it doesn't matter. Like I said, it doesn't matter if he's a quaint, white-bearded old white man sitting up on a throne, or if he's some weird-looking dude out of the Star Wars bar from the movie Star Wars. And the fact is that he's given us commandments. He's given us direction in our life. And if we follow that direction, then we're going to be better for it. Again, it doesn't matter whether we're Hindu, whether we're Buddhist, whether we're Taoist, whether we believe in Southwest Indian religious beliefs like the Hopi and some of the other tribes. It all is cosmic, and it all will come to pass someday, and we will all understand. But it's fascinating, it's interesting, all this ancient stuff and evidence and whatnot. And so one of these days we will know, and then we will see. And that's all I got to say about it. Hi, everybody. This is Dave for the Prune Garden. Yeah, the Prune Garden. They're a new sponsor of the program here. And what they offer is they offer an all-natural remedy that's unique to the gastrointestinal world, shall we say, for those times when your system gets clogged up, you get out of sorts, you just can't make it happen on a day or 2 days or whatever. Well, now the Prune Garden has come to your rescue with a supplement that allows you to take care of that bodily issue that really clogs up and can ruin your day. The Prune Garden, 3 different supplements ranging from the Bluter, if you have a mild situation on your hands that you don't need a real hard and fast wham bam thank you ma'am, it's the Bluter pack. Or then there is the Smooth Move. That is for a little touch more than what you need from the Bluter pack, but yet at the same time, you don't need a full-scale war going on inside of you. So you'll want to try the Smooth Move. But if you really have got problems and you feel like you drank a gallon of Radiator Seal and a quart of Kaopectate, there is the Let Her Rip. That is the ultimate. It is the equivalent of a nuclear bomb, but it's gentle on your system as well. Listen to what these good folks have to say about the Prune Garden supplements.
I don't know how my husband has got along without Prune Garden supplements all these years. He takes 1 packet of Let Her Rip and he's cleaner than his well-oiled shotgun. It's a real blowout and I have to get out the plunger, but it's worth it. No more Mr. Grouch Ass every morning.
Man, that Prune Garden stuff, it's a miracle. I'll tell you what, the other day I got up and I felt like I was locked down tighter than Alcatraz. I took one of them little Prune Garden things. I took to start off with, I took the Smooth Move. Well, it just kind of eased on things on down a little bit, but it didn't do the job. So I grabbed one of them little packets of Let Her Rip. Woo, boy, did it rip. I'm telling you what's the truth. You talk about a blowout. I blew out faster than a tire on an 18-wheeler doing 90 miles an hour down the expressway. Yeah, that Prune Garden's Let Her Rip. It'll do the job, boys. You need to clean it out. It'll clean you out. It'll gut you like a bass. So all I can do is tell you how great the stuff is. Yeah, whoo. You might even need a seat belt. But that's the way it is.
Warning: if you regularly eat turnip greens, pinto beans, and drink buttermilk, we recommend you alert your city or county hazmat team and a plumber at least 1 hour before taking the Let Her Rip supplement.
Paging Dr. Whacker, Dr. Tallywhacker. Paging Dr. Knuckles, Dr. Harry Knuckles.
A strange ride today, hasn't it? Anyway, we're going to get back to, I was going to say normal, but we're going to get back to abnormal next time we visit each other here on the Centerline with Dave. Have a great one, dudes and dudettes and bubbas and bubettes. And Charlie Ann, hit it, babe.
Where, oh, where are you tonight? Why did you leave me here all alone? I searched the world over and I thought I found true love. You met another and you was gone.
Bye, y'all. Have a great day.
You have been on the Centerline with Dave. Join Dave every Wednesday and Saturday. You can contact Dave through his website, thecenterline48.com. There you can email Dave or post a message. You can also find Dave on YouTube. Just type in the center line with Dave. For Dave and Charlie Ann, thanks for listening. I'm Buckwheat J. Fergwangler. Have a great day. Yabba dabba doo.
The Centerline with Dave is a copyrighted production, all rights reserved. Remember, there are two places you can get your leg pulled. Your chiropractor's office and right here on the Centerline with Dave.